let us get started with our discussion. And we are first going to discuss about the open questions that we have from class, and then we will continue on the rest of the topics. Okay. So we were facing an issue that the custom screen was not visible, or when we were trying to open in the browser using the URL, we were getting some error, some HTTP error code was getting returned. So we will try to fix that. So first, let me go to SICF. Okay, I'll do a test service. Okay, so if you will see if you will observe something over here, that when we are running the initial screens, it is making an HTTPS call. See this? If I copy this, now you can see. So it is making an HTTPS call. And this also we have seen that this is the port number and this is the server ID. I will show you that also so that you can see that. So we have already seen about this transaction. So we are making use of the protocol HTTPS, and this is the host name and this is the service or the name of the port number. And you can see in our system, both HTTP and HTTPS is allowed. But again, with HTTP, somewhere else, there might have been some restriction or something. And that is the reason it is not whitelisted. For HTTPS, it is whitelisted. All the certificate and everything is able to download. But for HTTP, it's not a secure protocol. So we are getting some warning. I'm not saying that it is getting an error, but we are getting some warning. And when we bypass that warning, then we are getting an error. So that was the problem we were facing, or maybe some other problem definitely we will face. So the initial screen is making the right call. It is making the correct HTTPS call. This also remains the correct HTTPS. If I click on enter, go to inbound process, custom process. So till the menu manager is being displayed, everything is fine. Because for menu manager, it is just the presentation text that is getting displayed. We are not making a call to any screen. But as soon as I click on this, now we are getting a different error. But yeah, this should have been changed. This we were getting as 8,000. I have fixed something, and one more thing that we need to change. After that, this should be working. So I'll show you that. Okay. So this is our internet service that we have already created. And when we were creating this internet service, we had copied it from SCWM RFUI service. And in this, all the standard screens got copied because we copied it from the standard service. And then what we did is that when we created our custom screen, we added it. So we added the HTML template. So this is the custom screen. The HTML template we have added, and the HTML code for this particular screen is generated. So this step is fine. But while creating the SICF node, what I had done is there was a small typing mistake, and because of that, it is not giving us the correct result. So again, we had configured this SICF service as well. So everything, the GUI configuration and everything we had configured. One more thing that you should take a note of. Yeah. So in the error pages or in the logon errors, if you will see the configurations, in the configuration protocol, I am using logon using HTTP. There are 3 different options. If you select this, do not switch, you will see that by default, the service is making an HTTP call. Let me try this. Let me change this first so that you can see the difference. So this is in the system logon configuration. I will change this do not switch. I'll go back. I will deactivate this. I hope this service is published. So one more time, I'll publish this before activating the SICF service. So I'll publish the complete service as usual. Okay. Then I will activate it. I will activate everything. If there is any subnode, that also I'll get activated. Now I will test this service. Now, if you see the default URL is this, it is 8,000. And of course, the IP address or the host name will remain the same, but this is 8,000. So this is HTTP. And you can see you're already getting a kind of a warning what we were getting in the earlier screen, that this connection is not secure. It is a warning. And maybe then this will allow to some extent, even it is not allowing us to log on. Yeah, so even it is not allowing us to log on. So again, if we are using a different protocol, we are getting one or the other error. So what we have done is we have to make sure that we are using the HTTP protocol. So we go back here, and again, you have to be very careful because even a small change in the checkbox or in a radio button could have very adverse effect, and it will not give you a very proper error message. So it's very difficult to identify. Generally, a template would be there, like you can take the template of SICF SCWM RFUI, which is already there, and then you can create. But again, all this, many other things like HTTP, HTTPS will not be available over there. Okay, so what I do, I go back and log on using HTTPS. So this is the setting which I want. Then the mistake that I was talking about, even if it was changed, it is still not working. And the mistake that I was talking about is in the GUI configuration. So if you will see, the transaction I am calling is SCWM RFUI. That is fine. All other things are fine. But in sources, we are giving the internet service name. And this is still the old service name or something which is being called. So I need to give the SCAT service name that I have created. So RFUI training, this is the one we have created. Why? Because the screen that we have added is in this service. But if in the source, I am giving the old service, so all the standard screens is working fine. So standard screens is probably working from this source only, but the custom screen is not added in this source, and we are getting some problem. So like it is not working correct completely. So what I need to do is I need to copy this name. I can have multiple sources. I can have that as well. So I could keep this also, and then I'll add the source, which is the one we have created. Now I'll save this. Again, same thing. I will deactivate. Okay, I'll close this too. Okay, now again, HTTPS call is being made. The screen is visible. Let's see the custom one. Yeah, now we are getting the custom screen also. This is the custom screen we have created. So it is, I mean, we have not given any error message. We have not written any logic, so nothing is there. But if I click on back, it should go back. And it is important that when you're working with FUI, of course, when you're working with RFUI, you will not have any additional browser back button. But when you're working in or you're testing in the browser, do not use these buttons. So this is like work, even if you are working, let's say for login to any of the bank account, and if you click on back or if you click on refresh, that session will get cancelled. And similar thing happens over here. But if you're using a back button, this you have defined. So similarly, if you are using the tabs which your bank has provided to navigate, then that will work fine. But as soon as you click on back or if you click on refresh, your session will be logged out. It will get closed, and you will not be able to view or change anything. Again, you will have to log in. So that is a similar kind of behavior you will observe over here as well. So if I click on back, I have defined here that it will go back, but again, you are supposed to use this back button. Any other questions on this? That was the mistake. Because of that, the custom screen was not getting displayed. So yeah, that is figured out and it's solved. So the pending topic on this one is done. We have one more pending topic, which I'll come to. But any questions on this?
So you will have only one custom internet service. You can have many.
You can have many.
So then in that case, you need to enable those services separately and then add it to respective sources, right? Is that right?
Enable those means you will have to create both. You will create multiple services in SCAT, and similarly, you will have multiple SICF node. So generally, sorry, I could not hear you.
Yeah, each SICF node, I need to add it that source. I need to edit the respective service, right? Internet service customer.
Oh. So generally for multiple warehouses, or maybe if you are using different devices, then according to the device, you will have different services. Because you have, again, let's say, for example, somewhere you are using HTTP, somewhere you are using HTTPS. Depends how you're configuring. But yes, you can have multiple services also. Okay. Any more question? Okay. If no more questions on this, we move to our next topic of SAAB, the checkpoint ID. And there I did not do anything. I don't know why it was not getting triggered, because when we discussed SAP transaction for the first time, the debugger was getting triggered. And even like after the class, when I tried in the evening, it was working fine. I don't know why it did not get triggered, but let me try that one more time. So I will close this. I will close this. I'll keep this open. So let me go to SAP transaction. Okay, let me try another way of activating it. So I'll try to activate it with the reference to a variant. Maybe let's see if this will enable. And this also we tried it, right? Yeah, we tried this also. Okay, so I'll create a variant. Okay, already exist. I'll change it then. Okay, so I have put a breakpoint on the function group, and or maybe the checkpoint group also I can put. Let me first try on the standard process. See, it is already getting triggered. So you can see the breakpoint ID has got triggered from here. I will try it. Okay, but it is not getting triggered from the browser. Let me check there. So what I will do, in fact, I'll execute this first. I don't want to have it open. Now the same thing, same transaction. Let me see from here what happens to this. Okay, let me add the checkpoint group also. This is strange. Okay, we have activated the variant. Don't know what's wrong with it. No, this is again not working. I don't know the reason for it. This is weird. As soon as I have enabled this session breakpoint, the debugger is getting triggered, but if you will look at the debugger, it is not going to the session breakpoint. In fact, it is going to the breakpoint ID. It is still here. It is still here. I have not reached the session breakpoint. I am not sure how is it impacting, but nothing in the setting gets changed with session breakpoint. Now, probably it should be like even for again for enter, you can see the breakpoint ID is getting triggered, and I have not put the session breakpoint in the PAI. So PAI, you will see that there is nothing in the session breakpoint. This is something weird I am observing, but yeah, I mean, it is getting triggered now, but even this, why every time it is not getting triggered, I also don't have an answer to that. Now it is getting triggered. It has triggered the breakpoint ID what we have put, but there is no other breakpoint in this. It's weird actually. But anyways, I will also try to search by activating a session breakpoint once. Is it going to have any kind of impact? Is it changing something in the debugging configuration? So, and now if I remove it, what will happen? So this is fine. This is getting triggered. This one I placed right. I'll remove this one. Okay, so you need to have a session breakpoint somewhere. No, it is not getting triggered. This is strange. No, I also don't have an answer to this. I could check, but I don't know. I mean, we'll get something on this. Why? What kind of setting is being changed with that? So I have already enabled everything in the debugging. So let me try another thing. I'll not even put a session breakpoint in this one. Let me try to put a session breakpoint somewhere else, any program. This is something I'm just trying. I don't know why it is having. Okay, anywhere I need to put. So let's see the session breakpoint here in this report. Altogether a different report completely. This I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, you can see that with SAP, when I put a session breakpoint, it triggered, but the trigger went to the checkpoint group that we had created. And even like, I mean, checkpoint group, I had the session breakpoint I had added in the PBO, but even the PA got triggered. That is something weird. Even I have not observed this. Maybe somewhere in the setting, it is having any kind of impact. I will try to find an answer. I'm not sure whether I'll get something for this, but yeah, this is the way you can do that. The advantage of using SAP is that you can activate the breakpoints without making any kind of modification in the system, without like, I mean, you do not require a transport or anything to activate the breakpoint. You can simply activate the breakpoint specific for a user, maybe at a server level for a specified time. So that you can do, and that is the way we can all debug the RF. Even putting a session breakpoint, if the ID is same, it will still trigger. That will also trigger, but that has to be the same. The external breakpoint ID has to be same. The one who is using the RF device and the one who is putting a breakpoint has to be the same. Then even the external breakpoint would work. Okay. Then I move on to the today's topic for discussion. But any questions so far? Okay, I will update the session link. We continue with services. We discussed RF, and then if time permits, we will discuss about PPF. Okay, what is the next thing that we want to discuss? Okay, so this is done. We want to discuss about the personalization profile, and we want to discuss about the pick by voice as well. So to work on, let me close one few more, which is already open on my screen. In this video. Okay, so now before coming to the personalization profile and presentation profile, we have one more topic, which is pick by voice. How you can enable that? Do you have any idea from where we can probably enable that? We discussed about this very briefly in a session, that how this can be enabled. What you need to change? Any idea? Okay, so let me go to SPRO once again. So we had created one display profile, and we have seen that how you can create a display profile and you can change some of the visual or the device related parameters. Even pick by voice is one of the device related parameters. So I will show you that. Okay, you can see that in standard, SAP has already given us a display profile, which is pick by voice. Okay, so you can make use of this display profile, or if you want, you can copy, like in the previous example we did a copy of this, copy of a standard display profile, which was star to something custom name that we did. You can copy this, and then if you go to this transaction here also, when you are configuring the display profile, and when your display profile is sound enabled, or you have configured according to that by copying the standard SAP one, you can see that you can even configure some of the things here. So info sound, error sound, those things you need to configure here. So you have different sound options. SAP has already given, again, it is most of the things are provided in the standard one. You need to configure this. And then, like, again, in case of warning errors, what kind of sound? So there are codes for it, which you need to place. And then again, like, voice and the sound related functionalities will be enabled. This we cannot see. I'll just copy, but it will not make any difference. But this is what you can enable, and you can play around with the values over here. And then what kind of sound you want, and then probably voice enabled. It has to be the device that should capture your voice. And then again, if you are using the correct display profile and it is mapped to the device setting correctly, then it will capture your inputs also. This is not. So these 4 and then this 5, you need to adjust this as well. So anything related to device. So anything related to device, be it the size of the device, be it the resolution of the device, the buttons you want to see on the device, or you don't want to see the buttons on the device, all those things will be related to the PRDVC or the display settings that we have seen in the previous screen. So those 2 things that you need to change. And while discussing that, okay, this personalization profile, presentation profile is in a way linked to the display profile. But even if you want to change how you see your menu, that also can be controlled using the presentation and personalization profile. So now we will see that. I'll try to copy one, but I'll have to copy a lot of things. So not copy everything. I'll just show you something that, okay, what you can change and how you can change. Okay, so the first step is, let me create a personalization and a presentation profile. I'll create a new entry. Okay, then once you have created this, you will have to change this in all your logical transaction. Not change this, but in fact, add this personalization profile also in your parameters. Because if you will see, if I go to logical transaction, if I go to any of these, so in logical transaction, when you are maintaining the logical transaction step flow, so here also you are using the presentation profile. So you are using the presentation profile **, and you need to call your, similarly copy this 4 entries for the custom presentation profile that you have created. Then similarly, if you go to the function code profile, here also you are using the presentation profile and personalization profile. So here also you need to create that, you need to copy that everything, then only it will work. So I will try to do it for one of the initial screens. Let's see if just copying few things will work or not. Otherwise, I'll have to copy for each and every screen. It will be a tedious task, but I'll try to do at least for the initial screens.
Hey, you know, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features? Bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
Okay, so this is still menu. Then I think we were using this is also menu now, or maybe I'll use a different one. So I will copy this and let's see if it is working for our presentation profile or not. And then I'll have to again make in the changes at few more places. So first in the logical transaction, I select this logical transaction step flow. Okay, so now it should be having all the entries. So if I go back, you can see you are having entries for both the presentation profile, the default standard one and the custom one that we have created. Now, similarly for function code profile also, I will copy these 4. Okay, so here also all the entries. So now in total, I should be seeing 8 entries over here for both the presentation and personalization profile combination. Okay, anything are we maintaining here as well? Yes, here also we are maintaining. So we should be copying this also. Okay, so I have mapped the custom personalization and presentation profile to all the 3 display profile that is there in the system. Now, if I go back here also, we see the 6, 7 entries. Okay, now this is done. Now, even in the menu painter, we have presentation and personalization profile. So that also needs to be changed. Or maybe we can keep the menu, but I'll copy that also. So maybe if I go back here also you see this presentation profile and personalization profile. And this is, you're seeing the menu for this. Whatever menu you're seeing for that particular combination. I need to change it. So I will copy it. I'll not make any changes in the standard one. I'll copy the menu, the destination. Now what I will do is, let's say in this menu, I don't want all these options. Let me go to the presentation text. I don't want these options. My warehouse person will be working, let's say, only on the inbound process. I'll delete these. That's it. I'll click on select these 2, save. Then I think EVC, there also I need to do this. No, there is no presentation profile. It's already linked. Okay. Here I need to change. So this, I think this will be the final link. So here you can see it is linked to the personalization profile, this user or the resource also I need to check. So I would make ZV save. This is in the user, was not there in the resource training. We are just making the default device. That's fine then. Okay, I have made everything, all the changes that should have been done. Let me log out. Okay, let me try to run this transaction. No, it is still something is missing. The menu has to be assigned somewhere. Giving the resource, we are giving the default device. Presentation and personalization profile is done. Do we assign them? Give me a second. Let me check on this deep. So this is still assigned to main menu. Personalization profile is this, but how do I? 1 second. So this is the menu we had copied, but what was the name of it? No, here also we are not maintaining anything related to menu. Okay, now it is cutting. So I think that warehouse one was the missing one. So it is taking the custom menu. Maybe not all these things will not work. We have this also, we have not defined receiving my handling. We have defined only for this, right? So this will be visible. And if I click on anything else, yeah, these are very visible. Anyways, fine. But maybe the proper buttons or everything will not be coming. But what we want to do with the menu option is, like, for example, you are having different areas in your warehouse, right? So if I go to the initial set of slide, yeah. So you have different areas, maybe let's say, because this warehouse will be big. Let's assume this is big. So the same warehouse worker, if he's working on inbound staging area and he's working on the outbound staging area, then there will be a lot of travel time. And we, of course, want to optimize our warehouse performance and warehouse activities. So generally, you will have a dedicated resources and dedicated devices also in the related areas. So let's say a person is working on the inbound area, and then another set of person is working on the outbound area, and they don't want to see all the menu options. Like inbound person will have nothing to do with the outbound menu option, and vice versa. Outbound person who's working on the outbound staging area has nothing to do with the inbound staging area menu option. So this is the way also one of the customization that you can do, that for different device setting, you will create different personalization and presentation profile, which will be assigned to the resources. So resources working on this area, let's say they have been assigned to Z that we have created, and they will see only the menu option with related to inbound staging area. Similarly, you create one more personalization and presentation profile. Rest of the things remain same. Let's assume your device is same. So I have not changed anything in the device. Then you can assign that personalization and presentation profile to the outbound staging area, and so on. These things you can create in multiple according to the warehouse needs that you have. So, but yes, again, I mean, using this, you can configure the buttons also, right? You can configure the different buttons. So let's assume in inbound staging area, people are working on touchscreen devices. So they want to see the buttons physically. But those who are working on the outbound staging area, they do not want to see this. Then you will have different activities. I mean, you have a touch screen, not a touch screen, but a keyboard one. So you don't want to see the buttons physically. So that kind of things you can control. And then for that, you need to again go to the logical transaction, and then you need to maybe remove those buttons, what we have seen already. So again, there is a lot of configurations needed in this. And most of the times, these configurations, whatever related to RF are being done, is being done by the ABAPers. Generally, like, I mean, in other modules or even in EWM, many of the configurations, functional people will be doing. But when it comes to RF related development, the configurations that we have discussed is mostly done by the ABAPers. Again, it depends from a different project, what kind of responsibilities being shared by whom. But since, like, I mean, RF development is very much related to a configuration and to a development, you need to do both the activities simultaneously in most of the cases. That's the reason it is generally handled by the ABAPers. And that's the reason it is important that you know all these configurations along with the development and where to do the development. That is also very important. If you simply create an extension or enhancement by finding finding an extension point, it will not work the way you want. There are already different set of master data that you need to maintain. Already SAP has given predefined points where you need to maintain the data to, like, I mean, do the customization, whatever you want to do. Okay, so with that, probably our RF topic is closed. It's done. We don't have anything more to discuss on that. Whatever overview or whatever use case scenarios was relevant, I have tried to cover that. And do you have any questions on those? Only thing is one question or one request was to consider the identifiers, the prefix identifiers like 1J, 5J. So that I'll try to include in the next week, not now. So then again, I mean, from RF or anywhere, we will test that. Okay. Any questions so far? All right. So if there are no questions on RF, the next topic that we are going to discuss is post-processing framework. Another very important topic. So what happens is, like, if you were to categorize EWM development, it would be 4 or 5 categories that you need to know. So one is the debugging. The debugging we have already seen that how you can, the queue debugging I'm talking about, because that is one very important aspect in EWM. So the data flows from ERP to EWM for multiple times. Like, the delivery is distributed, then you get the notification that GR is done, you get a notification of any internal movement, all such things are being notified back to the ERP, any stock change, that is getting notified. So one is the queue debugging. The second most important part is RF, because like in EWM, everything or most of the thing, 99% of the things is handled by handheld devices. It could be an RF devices or maybe some devices mounted on the different forklift vehicles. So you need that radio frequency framework or that kind of URL which can be generated and could be mapped into the different devices. So that is another important aspect. The third important topic in EWM development is post-processing framework, which we are going to cover now. And you can relate it to some extent with the output types, what you had in ERP, like in SD module or other modules, you were using the output types. So similar to that, I will say similar concept, but not exactly the same. The framework is very much different over here. Then the fourth topic is transactional handling. So in EWM, it is important because the data volume will be huge. And it is important that the transactions that you're handling, how to access the data, when to read from buffers, how to clear buffers, all those things is important. So again, that is also important. So these four categories, you in a very broader way, you can categorize the EWM development. And most of the other things that we have learned would revolve around these four categories. And now we would be discussing about the post-processing framework. And then in next week, we are going to discuss about the transactional handling. So what are the guidelines, how to handle a transaction? So maybe we'll try to create a simple report program. And from there, we will learn about the transactional handling in that. Okay. So now we are going to discuss about, again, a very essential component of SAP EWM, which is known as post-processing framework, or the acronym for that is PPF. What this tool will do, it's a very powerful tool which will help you to enhance and streamline many of your warehouse operation by automating various post-processing activities. And how to do that, we will see that, but it will help you to automate many of the asynchronous activity, many of the activities which you do not want to do in real time. Those activities you can automate, and it will be done through this post-processing framework. Now, this post-processing framework also provides a very uniform interface. So a condition-dependent generation, the trigger, the execution of action based on the condition, based on various scheduling and the start conditions. There are various conditions that we are going to see as part of this. So if those conditions, once it is generated, the action is generated. And if those conditions are met, then that action will be executed. And whatever asynchronous or post-processing activity that you wanted to perform will be done and will get executed. So all those things are there. So in a very high-level definition of PPF, post-processing framework is a tool for generic execution of functions and processes. And this is more applicable for asynchronous functions or asynchronous processing that you want to do. Now, coming to the other point, what are the uses of PPF? So you can see that it is used for the following purposes. So for printing, let's say, for example, if you want to print the HU label, or if you want to print any document like on warehouse task creation or any process during any warehouse order, if you want to print any document, then you can use post-processing framework in that scenarios to trigger the call or for printing or sending the output to the printer, or in our case, we will see the spool. Now, if you want communication to other systems, maybe ERP or maybe any other system. So let's say your warehouse task is created and confirmed. And if you want to send some additional notification to any of the system, then again, you can use post-processing framework. So a PPF action will be triggered, and it can even trigger a communication message. Sending XI PI message is basically the similar thing. So using the communication, you can trigger different types of messages to ERP or to other systems. You can also use this for asynchronous updates. So let us assume, for example, as soon as an HU is created or changed, I want to update something. Maybe I have a custom table. I want to update that custom table. I'm just giving you an example for reference. So that is an asynchronous update. My rest of the processing. So for example, if I am doing put away, if I am doing any kind of other activities in the warehouse, that update on the custom table should not be stopping me from doing that warehouse activity. I want to do it asynchronously. Then that kind of update also I can do from the post-processing framework. So PPF action will be triggered. It will either execute immediately, or again, you have a program which you could schedule in background, which will run in some stipulated time frame, and it will capture all the PPF action which is scheduled in the system, and it will execute those actions. Something similar you do in the output types also. So once the output type is determined, either you can process that immediately, or you can save that output type to be processed later on, or through a program. And when you run the program with some variant, it will pick all the output type or whatever output types that you have given in that particular variant. It will pick those, and then it will process those output types, and whatever result, whether it is for printing, it is for external communication, all those things will happen. Now, again, this is the generic option to enable customer extensions of EWM process. And this we already spoke about. The same example where, let's say, on a specific warehouse process, if you want to update something in the custom table, you want to do an asynchronous printing, you want to trigger something custom message to any of your system, all those things you can do. And this purpose is very much similar. If you have worked on output type, this is very much similar. There also you had many options. What all activities you could have done using PPF or using output type is very much similar. Here we are talking from EWM perspective. There we are talking from different module perspective. Okay, now going to the next slide. Okay, so let us talk about the components of a post-processing framework. So let me again go back to the system. Let me close all these. Okay, then I'll go to the PPF admin transaction. And once I go there, I'll show you all the different components that we have. PPFC ATM. Okay, the slash should not be there. Okay, so you can see PPF applications in customizing overview. So this is your admin transaction. Let me open it in SE93 so that you can see the description for this transaction also. Yeah. So it is PPF administration. So anything that you want to do related to PPF, whether creating an action definition, action profile, scheduling condition, start condition, everything can be done from this particular transaction. And you can see already there are various wizards, there are various buttons. I'll be talking about each and everything over here. So first is the application. So application is again the topmost layer in the PPF framework hierarchy. So nothing to define or nothing to explain about it. It's a topmost layer. So you will have various action profile, action definition group for an application. And you can see there are, even in EWM module, there are various categorizations based on the application. So you will see, for example, warehouse WM, warehouse management engine. This is what we are going to use. Certain things related to delivery will be coming under this application. Anything else that we will be using from here? No. So again, there are various other applications. Mostly we will be using this one, and in a few cases you will be using this delivery as well. Shipping and receiving also you will use. If you're not directly using TM, and if you are using something related to inbound or outbound, then this also you will have certain action definitions. Okay. Then the application, now we know it's the topmost layer of the hierarchy in the PPF application or the PPF framework. Then let me open this. So if I open this, you can see this customization and configuration, define action profile and action. So maybe I will open it, and you can see already the standard action profile or action definition is here. So what is the action profile? So next layer in the PPF framework hierarchy is the action profile. What is an action profile? It is a collection of actions, and each action will do a specific purpose, will be an executable function, but application profile is a collection of action. You can see this is the application profile /SCWM/WME. Sorry, this is the application, my bad. even in the application, this is the action profile, and then you can see various action profiles over here. My bad, this is the application. These are the action profile. So /SCWM /SCWM So all the action that you need for printing a handling unit will be in this action profile. Similarly, all the actions that you need in related to printing a warehouse order will be in this action profile. So it's a group or a collection of actions. Let's see the individual action. So let's say I'll take this example for our explanation. So print handling unit, I take this action profile /SCWM/HU. Then I click on action definition. And then you see there are a lot of actions that has been defined over here. These are individual executable function. So in the action profile, you have different executable function, and these are those executable function. So if you want to print HU label, you will use this one. Again, if you want to print HU TO label, then you can use this one. If you want to print HU shipping label, you can use this one. So based on different things that you want to print related to handling unit, you already have an action defined for that. And maybe each action will trigger a different Adobe form or a smart form, or maybe in many of the cases, it could trigger the same form, and then the form will dynamically generate the output based on the parameters or based on the values it is passed in those. Okay. So 3 levels we have discussed. First is the application, the topmost level in the PPF framework. Then we have an action profile. Action profile is a collection of an action. The logically actions, what is related to one specific application or one specific process, will be grouped in action profile. And then each executable function is an action under the action profile. Then you see a thing called as processing type. So let me select HU label and then click on processing. Okay. Then you will see all the technical details related to this. So you see the action definition, description, and how the processing is happening. You are seeing a method call, and this is the default processing. You will see all other processing types, what we discussed in the spec, that you can either directly trigger an alert, you can trigger a workflow, you can trigger an external communication. There are many more things that you can trigger, and you can have, again, you can have multiple values also assigned, and then through the configuration functional will achieve that. Okay, what type of based on what HU type, which type of call or which type of processing or which type of action should get executed. So that could be configured, and this is what we discussed here. What are the uses? So according to the uses, you will have different, what you call this as processing types. So processing type is nothing that, but it is the different types of actions or different types of processes that you can trigger through this PPF. It could, again, you can see the list over here. It could trigger an internal communication, a printout, an alert trigger, call, whatever you can do. But here, the processing type, what has been defined is a method call. So it is going to call a method. And what is the method name? This is the method name. You can see the technical details also. So this is the method name which has been defined over here. And how do I see the technical details of it? You see this button over here, display implementation. Because if it is a method, it will be somewhere implemented in a class, and you will have that class where this implementation for this method will be there. So I will click on this implementation. And you see the implementation is open. You can see the name of the implementation, which is basically the name of the method. So the implementation name is name of the method. Then you have this definition name. What is this? This is nothing but a baddie. And I will discuss about that. It's a filter dependent baddie. And then you will have an implementation, an implementing class. So if I go to the interface, you will see this implementing class. This is the name of the implementing class. Inside this class, the method, or whatever we have defined, this HU label will have one execute method, and that method is implemented. So let me go to this method, and you can see this method is calling a function module, which will execute PPF something. So call a common function module for execution of all PPF action definition for HU printing. So this will dynamically, based on some condition, it will trigger all HU printing. So here maybe you could have different conditions. Okay, I think that is also happening dynamically. This is determining the device type. For specific forms, somewhere it should be determining the form name as well. Yep, it is dynamically determining the form name, and it will be making a call to the form. So everything is happening dynamically based on whatever condition it is fulfilled. It will trigger the corresponding form, which is getting determined dynamically. Okay, now I said all this is a baddie. This is a baddie definition, a baddie implementation. So let's see that. So this is the definition name. So this should be the name of the baddie.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
That is the name of the baddie, and you can see it is a filter dependent baddie. And this is the filter condition. This is the filter table where all your filters will be maintained. And how we are going to maintain this filter? Here also you will see the filter in the implementation also. We are seeing the details over here. How we are going to maintain the filter, that we will see. We are not going to directly modify the table, but through the customization, through action profile, action definition, we are going to update this filter table. Then if I go to the interface, you will see the same interface, what was mentioned in the right-hand side screen. So here you have the interface name. And since we are looking at the baddie, this interface will have multiple implementation. Why? Because it's a filter dependent baddie, so multiple implementation is possible. Let me see the structure of it, hierarchy of it, or I should go to the interface. This will have the implementation. Yeah. So now I am into the interface. You see the implementing class. There are so many implementation already there. Even customs are there. People have created their custom, and then you can create that. That also I'll cover. But you can see already there are a lot of standard implementation. So based on different action definition, different implementation will be. All right. So then moving on to the other concepts of it. Okay. So we have discussed about the processing type also. Now we have we talked about a condition record. So this is the action that will get triggered. If I want to HU printing, and in that I want to trigger the HU label printing, of course, this is the action which needs to get executed. But it has to get executed based on some condition. Not every time I'm creating HU or changing an HU or deleting an HU, whatever any action I'm doing with HU, this HU label action should not get triggered. There should be certain condition that it should trigger. And there are various actions that you can maintain. For printing, I'll go back to this. So there are multiple ways of doing it. So you can see, or I could have selected there also. So there are various schedule conditions defined. I'll come to the schedule condition and start condition later on, but you can see there are various conditions defined. So one is the schedule condition and the other is the start condition. I'll explain about these two when I am showing you it in the debugger, because then you will see the hierarchy, the order in which each class or each method is getting called. But let me go back here. Yeah. So I'm basically seeing the same thing for that application. I'm seeing the application profile, and then I am seeing the action definitions. I am seeing a description, but you see there is a button technical name. If I click on this technical name, you can see the technical name, and this is nothing but the other screen information that you will see. So I'll select the same. I'll go to this, the same. I should have done this. Okay. So when I have clicked on that button, by default, it will show you the action profile and action definition. These are the action definition, but it is showing you probably the description of it or the presentation text of it. But if I click on this technical names, I'll see the technical names. And you can see this for action profile, all the action profiles are there. And then if you click on the individual action profile, like for example, here, you will see the action definition. So similarly, if I select here, I go to the action definition, you will see all the action definition over here. Now let us talk about this particular screen. So this is again, you will see all the details, everything related to the condition and everything you will see. So let's take, for example, HU label, one only. So let us see the schedule condition. It is scheduled automatically. The start condition is there is no start condition defined for it, and it will get processed when you are saving a document. So whenever you are creating or making any changes, and when you're saving it, when the document is getting saved, this condition, this particular action should get triggered. And there are many more conditions that needs to be fulfilled, but the processing time or how it should be scheduled, that we have defined over here. Now, if I go to the processing details, this is again the same. We have already seen in the last screen. This is the definition name. And if you will open it, again, using the same button, you will go to the implementation where you will have the interface, implementing class, everything you will see over there. Then this is the schedule condition. So even schedule condition is like in baddie only. We saw the baddie implementation for the processing of this HU label. And here also it is like in baddie. If I go here, you will go this way. But if you will see the baddie definition name, this is different. Just notice this 4 characters, EVAL, schedule, short form schedule condition, PPF. If I go to the processing details, if I click on this, EXEC method called PPF. So implementation name is same because this is the action name it is taking, but you are calling 2 different baddie implementation. In case of processing, it will be the execute baddie definition that will get called. And in case of schedule, there is evaluate baddie definition that will get called. So let us see this baddie also. Okay. Again, this is also a filter dependent baddie. You have the filter table and you will have an interface and you will see the interface. This is the interface name and method evaluate schedule condition. So if I go to the interface, this will also have multiple implementation. So if I see here also, you will have multiple implementation. And here also, you can create your own custom implementation for the custom schedule condition that you want. But what is a schedule condition? We know it's a baddie. We know we can maintain a filter. But what is a schedule condition? You can see the definition of the schedule condition, what has been given. The schedule condition decides whether an action should be scheduled for processing or not. So an action is therefore only generated if the schedule condition is met. So this will process your action. This processing detail, this baddie implementation will process your action. But before processing, your action should be scheduled. If it is scheduled, then only processing will happen. And then based on certain conditions, if those conditions are met, then your action will be scheduled. And if it is scheduled, either you are going to process that immediately, or maybe you can process that through your report program, or anyways, different ways are there, you can process it. But first, the schedule condition should be met and your action should be scheduled. So if there is already an existing schedule condition for this action, there is a schedule condition. So this should be met. We will see in the debugging that, okay, how this is met. If this is met, then only your action will be processed. Then you have one more start condition. 1 second. Okay, so for this particular action definition, the start condition is empty. There is no start condition is mentioned over here, but start condition is, if you will look at the definition, the start condition is checked before the action is executed. And the action is only executed when the start condition is fulfilled. So if we talk about the order, first, your schedule condition will be executed and it will determine whether your action meets the criteria, it should be scheduled or not. If it is scheduled, then if there is a start condition, then your start condition will be evaluated. Okay, is it the right time? For example, you have given that document should be the execution should start only when, let's say, the document is saved or before saving a document. If you have given any condition like that, then it will be evaluated. And if your start condition is met, then your final execution of action and then your execute method implementation of that particular action will get executed. So the order is first schedule condition, then if there is a start condition, then if there is, of course, the processing will be there. These two are optional, but processing will be there. Then the final processing of action will be done. Let me go back to the PPT. So all those things I have explained, it is there. The definition, the application profile, the application can contain several action profile and setting for all the action profile. Then you have an action profile. Action profile contains several action definition and settings for all the action definitions in the profile. Then you have action definition, the individual executable functions. The action definition describes the content of an action. So what execution, what function it is going to do in that will be defined in the action definition. Processing time, we have discussed, I have shown you in the system that it could be processed immediately. It could be processed when saving a document, or if you want to process it through the report, then also you can do that. So if I go to this is the section. So this is the transaction. You can select once your action is scheduled, you can select that action and then you can do the processing from here as well. Okay, this is the processing time, not exactly the processing time, but the various functions that you can perform. And we have seen this also, it was whether for external communication. And in fact, it was mentioned as a processing time only. So if I go back to the other screen, yeah, so action definition, processing types. So you can see the processing types of it and various processing type, what action or what function you are going to do. So these are the processing type, which has been defined over here, not processing time, it should be processing type. That's a typing mistake. Okay. So I will be showing you all these classes. So I will not be discussing about the classes at the moment, but you can see the sequence. First, evaluate schedule condition PPF, which we discussed. This will get executed. Then evaluate start condition PPF. It will check if the action is scheduled, is it meeting the start condition? If it is meeting the start condition, then execute method call PPF will be executed. So first schedule condition, then start condition, then method call. This is the order of execution. And you can see there are already classes. So these methods are getting called from these classes. So at the highest level, this is the context manager PPF class that will get triggered. And then it will trigger the PPF, which will trigger or make a call to the individual implementations of these subcomponents, evaluate, start condition, schedule condition, and then the method call. Yeah, so these all we will see in the system. Okay, but any questions so far on the concepts that we have discussed of PPF? What is a post-processing framework? What is an application? What is an action profile, action definition, processing type, and then these three important topics. What is an evaluate schedule condition? What is an start condition? So what is a schedule condition and start condition? And then the processing of it. Each is a baddie. Each three that you're seeing over here is a baddie definition. And then in the baddie definition, it's a filter dependent baddie. So according to the filter, there is already an interface defined. And according to the filter, it could have multiple implementation of that interface. So whatever action definition we are using, it will trigger the corresponding implementation of these baddie definitions. Any questions so far? Okay, so then let me go to these classes. And these have a lot of methods. So
Vedant Tahir here, one request from my end. Since this is a new topic for our technical team, can we, if not, can we copy one action definition and create a Z one?
Do that. I'll do that. So I'm just discussing about the theory. I'll show you that once, I'll show you both the aspect. The standard action definition is already there. So how we can, for printing, I'll take the HU label because most of the processes I'll not be able to show. So HU definition, then I'll show you
Any
how
one example,
standard one.
just an example of copying an
Definitely.
action definition. Great.
Both I'll show, the standard one in the debugging, and then a custom one also I'll show. Both I'll show.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Okay. So this is the context manager PPF class. You can see it will it will read the triggers. It will create the triggers to PPF. Again, we are not going to delve into this because I'm just showing you the flow. That if you want to debug something, then this is the flow you should be following. So the context manager will be called. Then from there, this class trigger PPF will be called. And then your individual PPF and the PPF implementations will be called. So this is how you should be analyzing when you're debugging something. So again, you can put a breakpoint at the class constructor. I can see only one constructor over here. You can put a breakpoint at a class constructor, and then this will trigger. And this I'll show you, but I'll just explain because we are hardly 5 minutes left and then if I go to the next class, the next class, I mean the IC24 class. So this CL trigger PPF. So this will basically read your individual PPF action definition, the implementation which should get called, and then it will trigger the corresponding implementation. So here again, many of the methods of this will be called. I think there will be a constructor in this also. So even this would be triggered, evaluate start condition, and this would be having an implementation to the baddie. So, and there should be more constructor. Okay, there is no constructor method in this. So if we want to execute maybe init or something, but you can see the different methods for schedule condition, start condition, execution. So execution is this method is there. These are set. Get start condition is there. So you will get the start condition. And there are various methods. So all these methods will get triggered. We don't need to know these methods. The only thing is, you as long as you know the class, so you can come to this class putting a breakpoint, and then you can. So there are various executes. So it will not be a direct call to any of these. You will see many of these methods getting called inside other methods of the same class. So you have execute. If you're repeating an action, then different method will be called, and so on. It will trigger. But the most important part over here is this. So any action that is causing a problem, if you want to debug that action, find out the bad implementation for that action, put a breakpoint in that corresponding class, and you should find the solution over there. So this will have an implementation, this will have an implementation, and this will have an implementation. And you already know how to find. So for example, for any action definition, let me take any random one. I'll take maybe, let's say, take for warehouse order, let's say warehouse order single I take. If I click on this, okay, then you will get to the processing type. From the processing type, if you click on this icon, display implementation, it will open another window in the interface. You will see the implementing class. So this is the implementing class for that particular action definition. And if you will go to this implementing class method, you will find the logic, whatever is there. Again, every time it will make a generic function call. There will be a lot of dynamic things which are getting processed. But yes, if you put a breakpoint, this will get triggered if that action is getting executed. Similarly, for schedule condition, you have a schedule condition over here. You need to go to this. So here also you will have an interface. You have an implementing class. Click on this implementing class. You will have evaluate schedule condition. You put a breakpoint, and then it should get triggered. Now the third aspect. Again, this also we don't have a start condition. Start condition is very rare. Very few actions will have a start condition, but it should be there in some. This also doesn't have. I think it is in TM. It is there. So let's see. Again, there are
delivery. Check the delivery output action definition. I think it will have a start condition.
Which one?
Delivery related.
Okay.
Delivery.
Okay.
Just see PRD out. Yeah, maybe PDI.
Okay, I'm into this one. I should have gone to the other run. No, it is not there. But maybe I'll check. It has a few action definition has a start condition, but it not many has a start condition. But you know the concept where it will be called. And probably I'll try to create a Z1, and let's see if it is getting also doesn't have.